Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Meridian, watching the stars through the huge windows. The ship was quiet except for the soft hum of the engines. He had been in space for 12 years, but the view never got old. Earth was far. Behind them now, just a tiny blue dot in the darkness. "Captain, we're getting something strange," said Lieutenant Kate Williams from her station. Her voice sounded worried. "It's a signal, but not from any human ship." Jake walked over to her console. The screen showed waves of light dancing in patterns he had never seen before. "Where's it coming from?" "Deep space, sir. Way beyond our territory. And Captain, it's powerful. Much more powerful than anything we can make." Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her workstation. She was the ship's expert on alien life, though they had never found any before. "Captain, I think we should listen to this message. If it really is from aliens, this could change everything." Jake nodded. "Put it through the main speakers." The bridge filled with a sound that made everyone stop what they were doing. It was not quite music and not quite speech. It reminded Jake of wind through trees, but also of machines grinding together. Then, suddenly, words formed in perfect English. "Humans of Earth, we are the Galactic Consortium. We have watched your species spread across the stars like a disease. This ends now." The voice was cold and had no emotion. It continued speaking while the crew stood frozen. "Your kind has violated the natural order protocol. In 200 of your years, you have claimed 37 star systems. This rapid growth threatens the peace we have maintained for 10,000 years. You will stop." Jake felt his heart beating faster. He looked around the bridge. Everyone was staring at the speakers with wide eyes. "We offer you a choice. Remove yourselves from existence within one solar cycle, or we will remove you ourselves. You have the power to make this easy or hard. Choose wisely." The message ended. The bridge was completely silent for a long moment. "Sir," said Commander Alex Reed, Jake's second in command, "did they just tell us to kill ourselves?" Jake's mouth felt dry. That's what it sounded like. He turned to Dr. Carter. "Lisa, is this real? Could this actually be from aliens?" Lisa was already working at her computer. Her fingers moved quickly across the controls. "The signal came from a point in space that's 12 light years away. But Captain, the signal only took 3 hours to reach us. That's impossible unless they have technology far beyond ours. Could it be a trick? Maybe another country on Earth?" "No, sir. The signal went through quantum space. We can barely use quantum communication between our own planets. Whoever sent this message has science we don't understand." Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. "Lieutenant Williams, give me a direct line to Earth Command." "Priority 1. "Yes, sir." "Connection ready." The screen lit up with the face of Admiral Ben Foster back on Earth. The old man looked tired. Jake could see worry lines around his eyes. "Jake, we got the same message. Every human ship and colony received it at the exact same time. The President is calling an emergency meeting. Admiral, what do you think? Is this real?" Before the Admiral could answer, another voice came through the speakers. It was the same alien voice from before. "To prove our power, observe." The main screen changed to show a view of space. Jake recognized the Kepler 440b system. It was one of their newest colonies with over 100,000 people. "No," whispered Dr. Carter. They watched as something impossible happened. The planet began to change. The green forest turned brown, then black. The blue oceans dried up. Cities crumbled to dust. In less than 5 minutes, a world full of life became a dead ball of rock floating in space. "Time moves as we command it," said the alien voice. "Your colony aged 1 million years in moments. This is the power of our doomsday clock. Choose quickly, humans. 1 solar cycle." The signal ended. Jake stared at the dead planet on the screen. 200,000 people, families, children, all gone in minutes. "Sir," said Alex quietly, "what do we do?" Jake looked around at his crew. They were scared, but they were also angry. He could see it in their faces. Lisa was crying, but her hands were clenched into fists. Kate was shaking her head slowly. Alex looked like he wanted to hit something. "We go home." Jake said, "We go home and we figure out how to fight back." "Fight back?" asked Lisa. "Captain, they just aged an entire planet. How do we fight something like that?" "I don't know yet, but I know humans. We don't give up easy. We never have." The trip back to Earth took 6 days. During those days, they learned more bad news. The aliens had destroyed 3 more colonies to show their power each time. Whole worlds died in minutes. Millions of people were gone. But something else was happening too. Earth was not panicking. Instead, people were getting angry, really angry. The news showed crowds in every major city demanding that their leaders fight back. Signs read Earth will not surrender and humanity forever. When the Meridian reached Earth, Jake was called to an emergency meeting at Global Defense Command. The building was full of generals, admirals, scientists, and politicians from every country on Earth. President Maria Santos stood at the front of the room. She was a small woman, but her voice was strong. The aliens think we will just roll over and die. They think we will choose extinction because it's easier than fighting. They don't understand humans very well. She looked around the room at all the serious faces. I've spoken with every world leader. We have all agreed Earth will not surrender. Earth will not go quietly. If these aliens want to destroy humanity, they're going to have to work for it. The room erupted in cheers and applause. Jake felt something warm in his chest. Pride, maybe, or hope. Dr. Patricia Lewis, head of the Temporal Research Division, stood up. Madam President, I believe there might be a way to fight their time weapon. It will take everything we have. But it might be possible. General Colin Hayes nodded. We're already moving our fleets into defensive positions. If they want to fight, we'll give them one. President Santos smiled, but it was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had made a hard choice and would not change their mind. Good. Send a message to the Galactic Consortium. Tell them Earth's answer. She paused and looked directly at Jake. Tell them we said not yet. 3 months had passed since the aliens gave Earth their deadly warning. The world had changed in ways no one could have imagined. Countries that had been enemies for decades were now working together. Scientists from America, Russia, China, and Europe shared their secrets. Military bases that once pointed weapons at each other now trained together. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the underground facility on Mars. The Red Planet had become humanity's secret workshop. Deep below the surface, thousands of people worked day and night on projects that might save their species. The aliens hit another colony yesterday, said Commander Alex Reed as he caught up with Jake. New Sydney, same thing happened. The whole planet aged to dust in minutes. Jake stopped walking. How many people? 500,000. Jake closed his eyes. Every few weeks, the aliens destroyed another human world. They always gave the same message, choose extinction, or we will choose for you. But Earth's answer never changed. Any word from Dr. Lewis about the defense project? She says they're close to something, but she won't tell anyone what it is yet. They walked deeper into the facility. The walls were lined with quantum computers working at full power. Scientists rushed back and forth carrying data tablets and looking very serious. Dr. Patricia Lewis was in the main lab, staring at a huge screen covered with numbers and equations. Her hair was messy, and she looked like she had not slept in days. Patricia, Jake said softly. She turned around and smiled. Jake, Alex, good timing. I think we might have found something. What kind of something? The aliens use time as a weapon. They speed it up around planets and watch them age to death. But time isn't just something you can push around freely. It follows rules. She pointed to the screen. Every time they use their weapon, they create ripples in space-time. Small ones, but they're there. If we can learn to read those ripples, we might be able to predict when they'll attack next. Alex frowned. That's good, but it doesn't help us stop them. Patricia's smile got bigger. That's the other thing we found. Time isn't just a river flowing in one direction. It's more like a web, if you know how. You can grab hold of the web and stop it from moving. Before Jake could ask more questions, alarms started ringing throughout the facility. Red lights flashed on the walls. Emergency transmission from Titan 7 mining station, announced a voice over the speakers. Jake felt his heart sink. Titan 7 was one of their most important mining stations. 3,000 people lived and worked there. The main screen changed to show the face of Chief Engineer Sam Turner. Behind him, Jake could see people running and shouting. This is Titan 7 to Mars Command. We're detecting massive energy readings heading our way. It looks like the same signature as the alien time weapon. Sam, get everyone to the evacuation ships now, Jake said into his communicator. We're trying, but there's no time. The energy wave will hit us in 2 minutes. Sam's face was calm even though he knew he was about to die. I'm sending you all our sensor data. Maybe it will help. The screen showed the view outside the station. Space itself seemed to be bending and twisting as the alien weapon approached. Tell my wife I love her, said Sam. Then the screen went dark. Jake stared at the empty screen. Another 3,000 people were gone, but this time was different. This time they had gotten data about the weapon while it was being used. Dr. Lewis was already working with the information from Titan 7. Her fingers flew across her computer as numbers filled the screen. This is incredible, she whispered. Jake, they sent us everything, power readings, quantum signatures, time distortion patterns. This is exactly what we needed. Will it help us build a defense? Maybe, but we'll need more than science. We'll need something the aliens don't understand. What's that? Patricia looked up from her work. Human stubbornness. Meanwhile, on Earth, something amazing was happening. The destruction of Titan 7 had been broadcast live around the world. People had watched 3,000 humans die in seconds, but instead of giving up hope, they got angry. In New York, a 17-year-old boy named Danny Chan sat in his bedroom, working on quantum equations. He was supposed to be in high school, but he was smarter than most college professors. The government had asked him to help with the alien problem. Danny stared at the data from Titan 7. Something about it bothered him. The alien's weapon was powerful, but it was also wasteful. It used far more energy than it needed to. Why would beings with such advanced technology build something so inefficient? Then it hit him. The weapon wasn't just aging things, it was feeding on them. The aliens were stealing the life energy from entire worlds to power their technology. Danny grabbed his phone and called Dr. Lewis on Mars. Dr. Lewis, I think I know how their weapon works. They're not just killing us, they're eating us. On the other side of the solar system, Captain Jake Morrison was leading a dangerous mission. Intelligence has suggested that there might be other aliens out there. Races that had fought the consortium before and lost. If humanity could find them, maybe they could learn how to fight back. Jake's ship, the Meridian, was equipped with the most advanced sensors Earth had ever built. They were looking for signs of civilizations that had been destroyed by the time weapon. Captain, I'm picking up something strange, said Lieutenant Kate Williams. It's like an echo in space-time, very faint, but it's there. Can you track it? I think so. But sir, it's not coming from a planet or a star. It's coming from nothing, just empty space. Jake thought about this. Maybe it's not empty. Maybe something is hiding there. They followed the signal for 3 days. It led them to a region of space that looked completely normal. But their sensors showed impossible readings. Time moved differently here. In some spots, it moved faster. In others, it almost stopped. This is it, said Dr. Carter, who had joined the mission. This is where civilization used to be. But they're not dead. They're hiding. Jake made a decision that would change everything. Open communications on all frequencies. Tell them we're humans from Earth. Tell them we're fighting the consortium too. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then space itself seemed to crack open. A ship appeared that was like nothing they had ever seen. It looked like it was made of solid light and shadow mixed together. A voice spoke to them. It sounded old and tired, but also wise. Humans, we have watched your species fight. We are the Vorthan. Long ago, we also said not yet to the consortium. We lost our worlds, but we survived, hidden between the seconds, living in the spaces between time. Can you help us? Jake asked. Perhaps, but first, you must understand what you truly face. The consortium is not just an empire. They are parasites that feed on time itself. Every world they age, every life they steal, makes them stronger. Then how do we stop them? The alien ship moved closer. The same way you stop any parasite. You make the host too strong to feed on. Your species has something we did not have when we fought them. What's that? You refuse to give up, even when death is certain. Humans keep fighting. This stubborn nature may be exactly what is needed to break their weapon. Back on Earth, the news of contact with friendly aliens spread quickly. For the first time in months, people felt hope. Maybe they were not alone in this fight. President Maria Santos called another emergency meeting. This time, it included representatives from every nation and colony. The aliens think they know us. They think we'll break under pressure like other species did. They don't understand that pressure makes humans stronger, not weaker. General Colin Hay stood up. Our fleets are ready. Our weapons are charged. But Madam President, we need to know what Dr. Lewis has been working on. Patricia Lewis took the stage. She looked nervous, but determined. We've been working on something we call the temporal anchor. It's a network of quantum generators that can lock space-time in place around Earth. if it works. Their time weapon won't be able to age our planet. If it works, ask Senator Bob Crawford. There's one problem. The system needs massive amounts of focused mental energy to function. Every human on Earth and in the colonies would need to concentrate at the same time. All 8 billion of us, thinking the same thought, refusing to let time move forward. The room was quiet. The idea sounded impossible. President Santos stepped forward. So you're saying we need to think our way out of extinction? Exactly. Then that's what we'll do. How long do we have to prepare? Jake's voice came through the communication system from deep space. The Vorthans say the consortium's main fleet is moving toward Earth. We have maybe 2 weeks before they arrive with their biggest time weapon, one that can ace the entire solar system. President Santos nodded. Then we have 2 weeks to teach 8 billion humans to think as one. Get to work, everyone. Earth is about to show the galaxy what humans can do when we refuse to quit. In his bedroom, Danny Chen continued working on his equations. He had figured out how to detect the aliens' weapon, but now he was working on something bigger, something that might turn their own power against them. He smiled as he wrote down his final calculation. The aliens thought they understood time, but they had never met a human who refused to accept that anything was impossible. Earth's answer was still the same. Not yet, but now they had a plan to make it stick. The Vorthan ship followed Captain Jake Morrison back to Earth as they traveled through space. The alien called the Chronarch taught Jake things about time that no human had ever known. Your species thinks time is like a river, the Chronarch explained. His voice sounded like whispers from 1,000 years ago. But time is alive. It has moods and feelings. The consortium learned to hurt time, to make it angry and wild. But you can learn to calm it. Jake listened carefully. How do we do that? The same way you calm any living thing. You treat it with respect. You ask it to help instead of trying to force it. When they reached Earth, the world had changed again. Every major city now had huge meditation centers where people practice focusing their minds together. Schools taught children how to think as one group. Even the toughest soldiers were learning breathing exercises and mental discipline. Dr. Patricia Lewis met the Vorthan ship at the orbital station above Earth. She had been working without sleep for days, and her eyes were red with exhaustion. We've built the first temporal anchor generators, she told Jake, but we need to test them before the consortium arrives. The Chronarch studied the human technology with interest. Your machines are crude, but they have something our technology never had. What's that? Hope. Your people built these machines believing they would work. That belief makes them stronger. The test happened 3 days later. A small asteroid near Mars was used as the target. Scientists fired a weak version of the alien time weapon at it, while 1 million volunteers on Earth focused their minds on keeping the asteroid's time normal. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the asteroid began to glow with a soft blue light. The time weapon struck it, but instead of aging to dust, the asteroid stayed exactly the same. It worked, whispered Dr. Lewis. The temporal anchor actually worked, but their celebration was cut short. Long-range sensors detected the consortium fleet approaching the edge of the solar system. The enemy ships were massive beyond imagination. Each one was the size of a small moon, and there were dozens of them. How long do we have? Asked President Santos during an emergency meeting. 4 days, said Admiral Foster. Maybe 5 if we're lucky. The Chronarch spoke from his ship in orbit. The Hierarch himself leads this fleet. He is the oldest and most powerful of the consortium. He has destroyed 1,000 worlds. Then, he's about to meet his first real challenge, said President Santos. The next 4 days were the busiest in human history. Every person on Earth received training on how to focus their mind for the temporal anchor. Meditation teachers worked with factory workers. Monks taught gangsters how to find inner peace. Children as young as 5 learned to concentrate on keeping time steady. Danny Chen had been working day and night on his secret project. He had figured out how to reverse the alien time weapon, but it would require someone to get very close to their main ship, close enough to touch their doomsday clock. It's suicide, said Dr. Lewis when Danny explained his plan. Whoever does this won't survive. Maybe, said Danny, but if it works, it will destroy their main weapon and give us a real chance to win. Captain Morrison volunteered immediately. I'll do it. I've been in space longer than anyone else here. No, said Danny quietly, it has to be me. I'm the only one who understands the mathematics well enough to make it work. President Santos looked at the 17-year-old boy. Danny, you're just a kid. I'm a kid who can save the world. Danny replied. That's worth more than a long life. Meanwhile, the human fleet took position around Earth. Every ship humanity had ever built was there. Old cargo vessels fitted with weapons flew alongside the newest warships. Mining ships carried experimental weapons designed by the best scientists. On Earth, Commander Alex Reed was in charge of the space battle. He knew they couldn't win a normal fight against the consortium, but they didn't need to win. They just needed to buy time for the temporal anchor to work. Remember, he told his fleet commanders, "We're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to survive long enough for 8 billion people to think the same thought." The consortium fleet arrived on schedule. Their ships moved through space like giant predators, dark and menacing against the stars. The lead ship was larger than all the others, covered in weapons that crackled with time energy. The eternal hierarch's voice echoed across all frequencies. "Humans, you have had your time to choose. You have chosen poorly. Now you will face the consequences of defying the natural order." President Santos responded from Earth. "We made our choice." Earth's answer is still the same. "Not yet. Then you will age and die like all the others." Behold, the power of our ultimate doomsday clock. The hierarch's ship began to glow. Energy gathered around it like a storm made of time itself. The weapon was 1,000 times more powerful than anything they had used before. It was designed to age entire star systems. On Earth, 8 billion people stopped what they were doing. In New York, a businessman in a suit sat next to a homeless man, both focusing on the same thought. In Tokyo, children held hands with their grandparents. In London, enemies became friends for one crucial moment. Dr. Lewis activated the temporal anchor network. Quantum generators on every continent began to hum with power. The energy field spread out from Earth, creating an invisible shield made of focused human will. "It's working," she whispered. "The field is holding steady." In space, the consortium fired their ultimate weapon. A wave of time energy rushed toward Earth like a tsunami made of years and decades. It was enough power to age the entire solar system to dust in seconds. But as it approached Earth, something impossible happened. The time wave hit the field of human consciousness and simply stopped. 8 billion minds said no at the exact same moment, and time itself listened. The hierarch's voice showed confusion for the first time. "What is this? How can mere thought stop the flow of time?" Danny Chan was already in his small ship, racing toward the consortium fleet. He had modified the ship with Vorthan technology that let him phase in and out of normal time. He was invisible to their sensors. "Danny, are you sure about this?" Jake's voice came through his radio. "I'm sure," Danny replied. "Tell my parents. I love them." The space battle began as the consortium fleet attacked the human ships. Laser beams and plasma missiles filled the space around Earth. Human ships exploded under the alien weapons, but more ships took their place. Alex Reed led his fighters in desperate attacks against the massive alien vessels. They were like insects attacking giants. But they kept fighting anyway. "All ships, remember the plan," Alex called out. "Keep them busy, protect Danny's approach." The Vorthan ships joined the battle, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Their weapons were strange, shooting beams that seemed to slow down the alien ships instead of destroying them, but the real battle was happening in people's minds. On Earth, the concentration was perfect. Every human being was focused on the same thought. "Time will not move forward. We will not age. We will not die." The temporal anchor held steady even as the consortium poured more power into their weapon. The hierarch's ship began to shake as its own time energy was reflected back at it. "Impossible," the ancient alien said. "No species has ever resisted our power." Danny's ship reached the hierarch's vessel. He phased through the hull and found himself inside the ship. The corridors were filled with strange energy that made his skin tingle. He could feel time moving differently here, faster in some places, slower in others. He followed his instruments to the heart of the ship. There, in a massive chamber, was the Doomsday clock itself. It was not a clock at all, but a sphere of pure time energy, spinning and pulsing with power. "So this is how you steal time," Danny said to himself. He pulled out his device, a small quantum computer that contained his reverse time equations. As he connected it to the alien machine, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. The consortium had detected him. "Human child," the hierarch's voice boomed through the chamber. "You do not know what you are doing. That device controls time itself. If you break it, you could destroy everything." Danny smiled. "That's the idea." He activated his device. The equations began to work, creating a feedback loop in the alien time weapon. The Doomsday clock began to spin backward, its energy reversing. The effect was immediate. Throughout the consortium fleet, their ships began to age rapidly. The stolen time energy that had kept them powerful for thousands of years started to drain away. "What have you done?" screamed the hierarch. "I gave you back all the time you stole." Danny said, "Every second from every world you destroyed, it's all coming back to you now." The hierarch's ship began to crack and crumble as centuries of stolen time returned to their rightful owners. The ancient alien appeared in the chamber, a creature of pure energy and hate. "You have doomed us all," he said. "Without our control, time will become chaos." "No," Danny replied. "Without your control, time will be free." The quantum feedback reached critical levels. Danny knew he had only seconds before the explosion. He thought about his parents, his friends, and the 8 billion people on Earth who were counting on him. "This is for everyone who ever said, 'Not yet,'" he whispered. The Doomsday clock exploded. The wave of released time energy spread throughout the consortium fleet, aging their ships to dust in moments. The hierarch's scream echoed across space as his ancient body finally experienced the passage of time he had stolen from so many others. But Danny Chan was gone, dissolved in the explosion of temporal energy. His last transmission reached Earth just as the enemy fleet crumbled to cosmic dust. "Time belongs to everyone," his voice said. "Use it well on Earth." 8 billion people felt the moment when the alien threat ended. The temporal anchor field slowly faded as people realized they were safe. In the silence that followed, the whole world mourned the brave boy who had saved them all. President Santos spoke to the world from the White House. Danny Chen was 17 years old. He liked mathematics and video games. He wanted to study at college and maybe become a teacher. Instead, he became the person who saved humanity. She looked directly into the camera. "The consortium thought they knew us. They thought we would break under pressure. They were wrong. When humans say not yet, we mean it, and we'll keep meaning it for as long as time itself exists." In space, the Vorthan ships began to fade back into their hidden dimension, but before they left, the Chronarch sent one final message to Earth. "Your species has done what no other could do. You have freed time itself from those who would steal it. But this is not the end. There are other threats in the galaxy. Other races that need to hear the words 'not yet.'" Captain Morrison looked at the empty space where the consortium fleet had been. Soon, human ships would spread out across the galaxy again, but this time, they would carry a message of hope to other worlds. The Doomsday clock had stopped, but humanity's time was just beginning. The explosion that destroyed the consortium's Doomsday clock sent waves of energy across the entire galaxy, on worlds that had been silent for thousands of years. Something incredible began to happen. Dead planets started to show signs of life again. Captain Jake Morrison watched from the bridge of the Meridian as debris from the alien fleet drifted past them. Each piece of wreckage was ancient, held together only by stolen time energy. Now that the energy was gone, the ships crumbled like old paper. "Captain," said Lieutenant Kate Williams, "we're getting signals from all over the galaxy. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds." "What kind of signals?" "They're saying thank you in languages we've never heard before." Dr. Lisa Carter looked up from her console with tears in her eyes. "Jake, I think we just freed civilizations that have been trapped for thousands of years. The time energy that Danny released, it's bringing back worlds that the consortium destroyed." But their celebration was interrupted by an urgent message from Earth. President Santos appeared on the main screen, looking worried. "Jake, we need you back here immediately. We're detecting something strange. Some of the consortium ships survived the explosion." "How is that possible?" "We don't know, but they're not giving up. They're regrouping for another attack." The journey back to Earth took 2 days. During that time, more disturbing news reached them. The surviving consortium ships were different from the others. They were older, darker, and seemed to be powered by something other than stolen time. When Jake reached Earth, he found the planet preparing for war again. But this time, things were different. The successful defense against the Doomsday clock had given humanity confidence. People were no longer afraid. They were angry. How many ships did they have left? Jake asked Dr. Lewis in the Underground Command Center. 12. But Jake, these ships are different. Our sensors can't get clear readings on them. It's like they exist partially outside of normal space. Commander Alex rejoined them. The Vorthan Chronarch has been trying to contact us. He says these remaining ships are the Hierarch's personal guard. They're the oldest members of the consortium, and they don't need stolen time to survive. Then what do they want? Revenge. The answer came sooner than they expected. The 12 surviving ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. But instead of attacking immediately, they sent a message. The voice was different from the Hierarchs. It was older, colder, and filled with hate that had burned for millions of years. I am the first speaker of the consortium, the last of the original council. You destroyed our empire. Humans, you freed the time we had rightfully claimed. For this, you will suffer as no species has ever suffered. The voice paused, and when it continued, it was full of dark promise. We cannot aid your world now that you have learned to resist. But there are other ways to destroy a species. We will hunt you across the galaxy. We will follow your ships and destroy your colonies one by one. We will make sure that humanity never spreads beyond this single world. And if you try to leave Earth, we will destroy this planet with weapons you cannot imagine. Weapons that do not use time, but pure force. Your choice is simple. Live forever as prisoners on one world, or die trying to escape. The transmission ended. Earth was quiet for a long moment. Then President Santos stepped forward. Give me a communication link to those ships. Madam President, said General Colin Hayes, what are you going to say? I'm going to give them humanity's final answer. The communication opened. President Santos spoke clearly and calmly. First speaker of the consortium, you offer us a choice between prison and death. But you're forgetting something important about humans. We don't accept choices we don't like. We make our own choices. You cannot fight us, humans. We are beyond your weapons now, maybe. But you're not beyond our stubbornness. Earth's answer remains the same it's always been. Not yet. The first speaker's laugh was like the sound of stars dying. Then you will learn what happens to those who defy us for too long. But before the alien could say more, something unexpected happened. Space around the consortium ships began to change. Ships appeared from nowhere. Hundreds of them, thousands of them. They were the freed civilizations that Danny's sacrifice had awakened. The Chronarch's voice came through the communication system. First speaker, you are outnumbered. The species you enslaved for so long are free now. And they remember what you did to them. Impossible. Those worlds were dead. Those species were extinct. No, they were sleeping, waiting for someone brave enough to break your power. The humans woke them up. Jake watched in amazement as more ships continued to appear. Some were strange organic vessels that looked grown rather than built. Others were geometric shapes that hurt to look at directly. A few seemed to be made of pure light. This is the Free Galaxy Alliance, announced a new voice. We are the species you tried to erase. We survived in hidden places, in pocket dimensions, in the dreams of our dead worlds. And now we are awake. The first speaker's confidence was gone. You were all dead. We saw you die. You saw our bodies die. But consciousness, memory, hope, these things cannot be destroyed by time weapons. A human child reminded us of that when he sacrificed himself to free time itself. The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not just humans fighting the consortium anymore. It was every free species in the galaxy standing together against their former oppressors. The consortium ships were powerful, but they were only 12 against thousands each time they destroyed one ship. 10 more took its place. Species that had been enemies before the consortium's rule fought side by side against their common foe. Jake watched from the Meridian as Alex Reed led the human fleet into battle. Earth ships were small compared to some of the alien vessels, but they fought with a fury that impressed their new allies. Look at that, said Kate Williams, pointing at the main screen. The humans are leading the charge. It was true. Despite being the newest members of the galactic community, human ships were at the front of every attack. They had learned that freedom was worth fighting for, and they would not let anyone take it away again. The first speaker's ship was the largest and most dangerous. It fired weapons that turned space itself into a weapon, creating gravity wells that crushed attacking ships. But for every ship it destroyed, 2 more took its place. Captain Morrison made a decision that would be remembered forever. All human ships, follow me. We're going after the first speaker directly, Jake. That's suicide, said Alex over the radio. Maybe, but someone has to do it, and humans don't know when to quit. The Meridian led a formation of 50 human ships toward the first speaker's vessel. They dodged between gravity wells and energy beams that could destroy planets. Ships exploded around them, but they kept going. When they got close enough, Jake activated a weapon that Dr. Lewis had built using Vorthan technology and Danny's equations. It was a device that could lock space-time around a single target, making it impossible to escape. "This is for Danny Chan," Jake said as he fired. The temporal lock hit the first speaker's ship and held it in place. Suddenly, it could not move or phase out of normal space. It was trapped. The combined fleets of the Free Galaxy Alliance concentrated their fire on the immobilized ship. Weapons from 100 different worlds struck it at once. The ancient vessel, which had survived for millions of years, finally began to crack. "Impossible." The first speaker said one last time, "We are eternal. We are beyond death." "No," replied a voice from Earth. It was a recording of Danny Chan, speaking from beyond death. "Nothing is eternal except the willingness to fight for what's right. And that's something you never understood." The first speaker's ship exploded in a flash of light that could be seen across the galaxy. It died the last of the original consortium, the beings who had stolen time from countless worlds. The remaining 11 ships tried to escape, but they were surrounded. One by one, they surrendered or were destroyed. The last great enemy of free time was finally defeated. In a silence that followed, representatives from hundreds of worlds sent messages to Earth. "Thank you," they said in 1,000 different languages. "Thank you for teaching us to say not yet." President Santos addressed the galaxy from the White House. Behind her stood the leaders of every nation on Earth. United as they had never been before, the consortium thought they could control time itself. They thought they could decide who lived and who died based on their idea of natural order. They were wrong. She looked directly into the camera, knowing that billions of beings across the galaxy were watching. Time belongs to everyone. Life belongs to everyone. And the right to say not yet belongs to everyone. From this day forward, no species will face extinction alone. The Free Galaxy Alliance will make sure of that. Jake Morrison returned to Earth as a hero, but he knew the real hero was a 17-year-old boy who had sacrificed everything to save not just humanity, but every living thing in the galaxy. At Danny Chan's memorial service, attended by representatives from across the galaxy, President Santos spoke the final words. Danny Chan was asked to save the world. Instead, he saved the universe. He reminded us all that sometimes the most powerful word in any language is no. No, we will not give up. No, we will not surrender. No, it is not yet time to die. The memorial ended with a moment of silence that was observed on every world in the Free Galaxy Alliance. 8 billion humans and countless billions of other beings all thought the same thought at the same time. "Thank you, Danny Chan. Your time was short, but you made it count." And somewhere in the quantum foam of space-time, where consciousness goes when the body dies, Danny Chan smiled. Time was free, the galaxy was free, and it was all because a few humans had been too stubborn to accept the word yes. When the universe told them to die, the Doomsday clock had stopped forever, but the clock of freedom had just begun to tick. 1 year later, the galaxy was a very different place. The Free Galaxy Alliance had grown to include over 300 species, each one grateful to be alive and free. Trade routes that had been closed for thousands of years were open again. Worlds that had been empty wasteland were blooming with new life. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the new Alliance headquarters, a massive space station built where the consortium's main fleet had been destroyed. Through the windows, he could see ships from dozens of different worlds, docking and departing. It was the busiest place in the galaxy. "Hard to believe it's only been a year," said Commander Alex Reed, joining him at the window. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime." They watched as a group of young beings from different worlds played together. In the station's recreation area, human children laughed alongside alien kids whose species had been enemies for centuries before the consortium's defeat. Danny would have loved to see this. Jake said quietly, "He is seeing it," said a familiar voice behind them. They turned to see Dr. Patricia Lewis approaching with a tablet in her hands. She looked tired but happy. "What do you mean?" asked Alex. "We've been studying the quantum echoes left behind. When Danny destroyed the Doomsday clock, his consciousness didn't just disappear. It spread throughout the galaxy's time stream. In a way, he's become part of time itself." Jake smiled. "So he's still out there." "Not exactly. But every time someone refuses to give up, every time someone says not yet, to impossible odds, there's a little quantum spike that looks exactly like Danny's brain pattern. It's like his stubbornness has become part of the universe's basic laws on Earth. President Maria Santos was meeting with the Global Council. The Blue Planet had become the unofficial capital of the Free Galaxy Alliance, not because humans demanded it, but because other species kept asking for their leadership. The androids from Kepler 438 want our help setting up a democratic government, reported Secretary of Alien Affairs John Carter. They say they trust humans to teach them about freedom because we're the only species that ever told the consortium no, without having weapons to back it up. President Santos nodded. Send a team of our best political scientists, and make sure they understand that democracy means everyone gets a voice, not just the loudest ones. Yes, ma'am. Also, the crystal beings from the Vega system want to share their medical technology with us. They say it's payment for teaching them that some things are worth fighting for. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent call from Dr. Lewis on the space station. Madam President, we've got a situation. Long-range sensors are detecting something massive heading toward our galaxy from deep space. It's not consortium technology, but it's big, really big. President Santos felt her heart skip a beat. Another invasion? We don't know yet, but whatever it is, it's the size of a small moon, and it's moving faster than anything we've ever seen. 3 days later, the object reached the edge of Alliance space. It wasn't a ship or a weapon. It was something much more wonderful. It was a massive library ship built by a species called the Eternal Archivists. The Archivists were ancient beings who traveled between galaxies, collecting stories and knowledge from every species they met. They had heard about the defeat of the consortium and wanted to record humanity's story for future generations. The head archivist, a being of pure energy that called itself the Keeper, met with human leaders on the Alliance station. In all our travels across 17 galaxies, we have never encountered a species quite like yours, the Keeper said. Its voice sounded like wind chimes made of starlight. Most species fight with weapons or technology or superior numbers. You fought with pure stubbornness. We prefer to call it determination, said President Santos. Yes, determination, the refusal to accept defeat even when defeat seems certain. This is rare in the universe. Most species give up when faced with impossible odds. Jake leaned forward. Why are you telling us this? Because your galaxy is not the only one threatened by time parasites. The consortium was just one family of such beings. There are others in distant galaxies, still enslaving worlds and stealing time from innocent species. The Keeper showed them images of other galaxies where similar conflicts were happening. Worlds aging to dust under temporal weapons. Species giving up hope when faced with ancient enemies. We would like to propose an exchange, the Keeper continued. We will share our knowledge of these other threats with you. In return, we ask that you share your knowledge of how to say not yet with species who have forgotten how to hope. President Santos looked around the room at her advisors. She saw Jake nodding, Alex smiling, and Dr. Lewis practically bouncing with excitement. What exactly are you suggesting? That humanity becomes teachers, not conquerors, not rulers, but teachers. Travel to other galaxies and show other species what you showed the consortium. That no enemy is too powerful if you refuse to give up. The proposal sparked debate on every world in the Alliance. Some species worried about humans leaving their galaxy. Others worried about the dangers of traveling to unknown places. But the humans themselves were excited about the idea. It's what Danny would have wanted, Jake said during a broadcast to Earth. He didn't just want to save our world. He wanted to save everyone. The decision was made by popular vote across all Alliance worlds. The result was overwhelming. Yes, humans should carry their message of stubborn hope to other galaxies. Preparations began immediately. New ships were built, using the best technology from hundreds of different species. The ships were designed not for war, but for exploration and teaching. They carried schools and hospitals and libraries instead of weapons. The first ship to launch was named the Danny Chen. Jake Morrison was chosen as its captain, with Alex Reed as his second in command. Dr. Lewis led the science team, while Dr. Carter headed the cultural exchange program. At the launch ceremony, President Santos gave a speech that was broadcast throughout the galaxy. 1 year ago, the consortium told us to choose between surrender and extinction. We chose neither. Today, we choose to share that choice with everyone in the universe who needs to hear it. She looked directly at the camera. knowing that her words would be recorded in the archivist's great library and shared with species she would never meet. To anyone, anywhere, who is facing impossible odds, you are not alone. To anyone who has been told to give up, you don't have to. To anyone who thinks their time is over, we're here to tell you that it's not yet time to quit. The Danny Chen launched with a crew of 200 humans and 50 volunteers from other Alliance species. As it disappeared into the quantum tunnel that would carry it to another galaxy, Jake thought about the 17-year-old boy who had started it all, back on Earth. In a small town in California, Danny Chan's parents visited his memorial statue. Every day, the statue showed him as he had been in life, young, determined, and smiling. The inscription below reads simply, "He taught the universe to say not yet." But today was different. As his mother placed flowers at the base of the statue, she noticed something strange. For just a moment, the statue seemed to warm under her touch, and in the quantum foam of space-time, a familiar consciousness stirred. Danny Chen was everywhere now, in every act of defiance against impossible odds, in every person who refused to give up, in every moment when someone looked at certain defeat and said, "Not yet." On a distant world in another galaxy, a young alien faced her own impossible challenge. Her species was being threatened by time parasites similar to the consortium. The weapons were different, but the message was the same: surrender or die. The alien girl had heard stories of a species called humans who had faced the same choice. She had heard about a boy named Danny Chen who chose a third option. As the enemy ships approached her world, she stood up in front of her people and said the words that were spreading across the universe. Not yet, and in the quantum foam, Danny Chen smiled. The Doomsday clock had stopped. Time belonged to everyone again, and across the universe, species that had forgotten how to hope were learning humanity's greatest lesson. Sometimes the most powerful weapon is the simple refusal to give up. Jake Morrison's ship reached its destination galaxy 3 months later. They found a species of crystal beings facing extinction from temporal weapons. The aliens had given up hope and were preparing to surrender. "Why do you fight a battle you cannot win?" asked their leader, a being of living diamond. Jake smiled and gave the answer that was becoming famous across the universe. "Because we're human, and humans don't know when to quit." The crystal beings learned to say not yet in their own language. Soon, other species in that galaxy learned the words too, and the time parasites found themselves facing something they had never encountered before: an entire galaxy that refused to surrender. The message spread from world to world, galaxy to galaxy. Humans carried it to some places, but it also spread on its own. Hope, it turned out, was contagious. 5 years after the destruction of the consortium, the Free Galaxy Alliance had become the Free Universe Alliance. Billions of species across thousands of galaxies had learned humanity's simple lesson. On Earth, in a museum dedicated to the Great War Against Time, children learned about the heroes who had saved not just their world, but all worlds. The most popular exhibit was a simple display showing the words that had changed everything: Earth's answer, not yet. But the real monument to humanity's achievement wasn't in any museum. It was in the fact that somewhere in the universe, at every moment of every day, someone was refusing to give up. Someone was looking at impossible odds and saying those too. Simple words that had become the battle cry of freedom itself. Not yet. The Doomsday clock had stopped forever, but the clock of hope would tick on for eternity, marking time for all the species that had learned to fight for their right to exist. And in the quantum foam of space-time, where consciousness lives after the body dies, Danny Chen continued to smile. His sacrifice had saved one world, but his example had saved them all. Time belonged to everyone, and everyone knew what to say when time tried to run out. Not yet.